Now picture this, a lightning-fast southpaw from the Philippines stepping into the ring against Puerto Rico's toughest warrior. And by the end of the night, one man would make history, while the other would need his corner to save his life. This video breaks down the most devastating welterweight performance in boxing history. Manny Pacquiao versus Miguel Cotto. You'll see the exact combinations that broke down the champion, the knockdown that changed everything, and the brutal body shots that made a proud warrior quit on his stool. Make sure to stay until the end because the final moment reveals why this wasn't just another title fight. It was a night Pacquiao proved he belonged in the conversation with boxing's greatest legends of all time. But how does a 147-pound Filipino fighter even get the chance to face Puerto Rico's welterweight king? November 14th, 2009, MGM Grand Garden Arena, two fighters stepped into the ring carrying the hopes of entire nations on their shoulders. Manny Pacquiao walked to the ring as a 6th division world champion, already a living legend. But skeptics still whispered, can this little guy really hang with the big boys at welterweight? Miguel Cotto entered as the reigning WBO welterweight champion. This wasn't just any champion. This was Puerto Rico's pride and joy, a technical fighter with devastating power who had never been stopped in his professional career. Cotto had bulldozed through legends like Shane Mosley and Zab Judah. Now the betting odds were surprisingly close. Vegas couldn't decide who would win. Boxing experts split down the middle. Some said Pacquiao was too small for welterweight. Others argued his speed would be too much for anyone to handle. But here's what nobody predicted. They were about to witness the most one-sided beatdown disguised as a competitive fight in boxing history. The stage was set for something special. Two proud warriors representing their countries, two different fighting styles about to collide, and one night that would change both their legacies forever. Then the opening bell rang and all hell broke loose. Now what happens when a human tornado meets an immovable object? From the very first second, Pacquiao came out throwing punches from angles that just shouldn't exist. The famous Pacquiao shuffle was on full display. Feet moving like he was dancing salsa while his hands threw leather like a machine gun. Cotto tried to establish his jab early, looking to control distance and pace. Smart strategy against most fighters, but Pacquiao, he wasn't most fighters. Every time Cotto threw a jab, Pacquiao slipped it and fired back with 3-punch combinations. Left hook to the body, left straight to the head, then gone before Cotto could counter. It was like trying to fight a ghost that hit back. The crowd was going insane. Every exchange brought roars from 20,000 people packed into the MGM Grand. This wasn't just boxing, it was artistry in motion. But Cotto wasn't backing down. The Puerto Rican warrior started landing his own shots. Solid hooks to Pacquiao's body, uppercuts that snapped the Filipino's head back. And for a moment, it looked like we had a real fight on our hands. Then, round 4 happened, and that is where everything changed. What single punch can turn a competitive fight into a one-sided massacre? Round 4, 30 seconds in, Cotto threw a right hand that missed by inches. As he was pulling back, Pacquiao stepped to his left and launched a straight left hand that landed flush on Cotto's chin. The sound was sickening, like a baseball bat hitting a watermelon. Cotto's legs buckled immediately. He stumbled backward, reached for the ropes, and went down on his behind. The crowd erupted. 20,000 people jumped to their feet like they just witnessed a miracle. But here's the crazy part. Cotto got up. Not just got up, but got up angry. When the referee finished the mandatory 8 count, Cotto nodded his head like he was saying, "Bring it on." And that's when boxing fans knew they were watching something special. Most fighters would have mentally broken by that knockdown. Cotto used it as motivation. The rest of round 4 was pure violence. Pacquiao smelled blood and started hunting. Cotto wobbled, but determined, started swinging for the fences. Hooks, uppercuts, desperate shots trying to turn the tide. And by the end of the round, Both fighters were breathing hard, but only one of them had a cut developing over his left eye. The knockdown changed the entire dynamic of the fight. Pacquiao realized he could hurt Cotto. Cotto realized he was in for the fight of his life. How do you systematically break down one of boxing's toughest warriors? After dropping Cotto, Pacquiao turned into a surgeon with boxing gloves. Every combination was calculated, every angle was perfect, every shot had bad intentions. Pacquiao's footwork became a masterclass in controlled chaos. He'd dart in from the left, throw a three-punch combination, slide out to the right, then attack from a completely different angle before Cotto could adjust. The Filipino Flash was targeting specific areas. Cotto's ribs on the left side, his temple, and that cut over his eye that was getting worse every round. Round after round, Cotto's face started looking like he'd been in a car accident. Swelling around both eyes, the cut leaking blood, his nose spreading across his face like pizza dough. But here's what made this fight legendary instead of just brutal. Cotto never stopped trying to win. Even while getting picked apart, he was looking for that one big shot to change everything. In round 7, he almost found it. A massive left hook caught Pacquiao flush on the chin, and for a split second, the Filipino looked hurt. The crowd gasped. Cotto pressed forward, throwing everything he had. But Pacquiao, he just shook it off and came back with a 4-punch combination that made Cotto cover up against the ropes. The moment passed, and the beating continued. What happens when unstoppable force meets unbreakable spirit? By round 8, this wasn't a boxing match anymore. It was a war of attrition. Pacquiao's skill versus Cotto's heart. Speed versus toughness, technique versus raw courage. Cotto's corner was getting desperate. Between rounds, they worked frantically to stop the bleeding from his cuts. His trainer was screaming instructions, but Cotto could barely hear through the swelling around his ears. Meanwhile, Pacquiao looked fresh, not even breathing hard, like he could fight 15 more rounds at the same pace. The crowd was split between admiration for Cotto's courage and amazement at Pacquiao's dominance. Every punch Pacquiao threw landed clean. Every combination flowed like water. In round 9, Cotto landed his best shot of the fight. A picture-perfect left hook that caught Pacquiao clean on the jaw. The Filipinos had snapped back, and for half a second, it looked like the tide might turn. Instead, Pacquiao smiled. Actually smiled. Then came back with a 6-punch combination that had Cotto holding on for dear life. And that smile said everything. Is that all you got? Round 10 was more of the same. Pacquiao boxing, moving, punching. Cotto chasing, swinging, surviving. The scorecards were becoming, honestly, a formality. This fight had one inevitable ending, but nobody expected it to end the way that it did. When does a warrior's courage become dangerous to his own health? Round 11 started with both fighters touching gloves, a sign of respect between two warriors who had given everything they had. But Cotto's everything wasn't enough anymore. His left eye was completely swollen shut. Blood was streaming from multiple cuts. His legs were heavy from absorbing hundreds of body shots. Pacquiao, meanwhile, looked like he was just getting warmed up. His combinations were still crisp, his footwork still sharp, his punches still landing with laser precision. Halfway through round 11, Pacquiao landed a devastating left uppercut that snapped Cotto's head back violently. The Puerto Rican stumbled but didn't go down. He never went down. That's when Cotto's corner made the hardest decision in boxing history. They decided to stop their own fighter. Between rounds 11 and 12, trainer Joe Santiago climbed through the ropes. He took one look at Cotto's battered face and just shook his head. The referee was called over, and the fight was stopped. Miguel Cotto had been saved from himself. The crowd gave both fighters a standing ovation. Pacquiao had just become a 7-division world champion. Cotto had just given the performance of his career in defeat. But the real story was what happened next. What moment defines true sportsmanship in the face of brutal competition? As soon as the fight was officially stopped, Pacquiao did something that showed why he became beloved worldwide. He immediately went to Cotto's corner to check on his opponent. No celebration dance, no showboating, just genuine concern for a fellow warrior who had given him everything he had. Cotto, despite being unable to see out of one eye and bleeding from multiple cuts, embraced Pacquiao like a brother. Two proud fighters who had just shared something absolutely special. The victory made Pacquiao the first fighter in boxing history to win world titles in 7 different weight divisions, from 112 pounds to 147 pounds, a journey that seemed impossible when it started. For Cotto, the defeat was devastating but not defining. He had shown heart that money absolutely couldn't buy, courage that couldn't be sought, the kind of warrior spirit that makes legends out of both winners and losers. And boxing historians immediately started calling it one of the greatest welterweight performances ever. Pacquiao had answered every question about his size, his power, and his ability to compete with naturally bigger men. The Filipino had proven he belonged in any conversation about boxing's all-time greats. Now, what do the statistics reveal about one of boxing's most dominant performances? The final numbers were staggering. Pacquiao landed 246 punches out of 493 thrown, a 50% accuracy rate that could make snipers jealous. Cotto managed just 119 landed punches out of 375 attempts. More impressive was the power punch statistics. Pacquiao connected on 191 power shots while taking only 83 in return. He outlanded Cotto in 10 of the 11 completed rounds. But statistics can't measure heart. They can't quantify the courage Cotto showed by never giving up. They can't capture the artistry of Pacquiao's combinations or even the beauty of his footwork. What those numbers do show is the night a small man from the Philippines proved that size doesn't always matter in boxing, that speed and skill can overcome natural advantages, that legends aren't born, they're forged in moments like these. November 14th, 2009 wasn't just another fight, it was the night Manny Pacquiao became immortal.